Welcome to another episode of Health Matters with PA Lynn Szabo. I'm Heather Poland, and what are we going to talk about today, Lynn?
Wait a minute. Are we recording? Maybe give me a minute. It's memory problems.
Oh my God, you did send an email.
Memory problems.
I was wondering what you were doing.
We can do to fix this. So I listen a lot to a really great podcast I can totally endorse called Science Versus, which is hosted by Wendy Zuckerman. And this particular one that played on the 7th of September of this year also included a discussion with the senior producer, Meryl Horn, and it was about memory problems and also what we can do to fix them. Now, you know, as you age and your memory kind of starts to sputter a little bit, I know this from patients talking to me in the exam room. Everybody is worried, does this mean that, you know, I'm on the slow slide to dementia? We all worry about it, but there's a lot of hope. There's really a lot of hope about memory loss. I would say the first thing I say to a patient is, you know, hold up my car keys and I'm going to say, are you talking about just losing track of where these are? Or are you talking about that you don't recognize what these are for?
Geez, that is a huge difference, isn't it?
Yeah, huge difference. And they almost always laugh and say, I can never find my keys, and the glasses are another problem and stuff like that. That is not...
It's when you lose your glasses when you're wearing them.
Right, completely. And so I think we all kind of lose our keys and our glasses constantly, but a real memory loss that you ought to talk to your physician about is if you're looking at your keys and you have no earthly idea what they are. So I'm talking here in this conversation about losing your keys, okay? That kind of memory loss. So the first thing to know, and I found this really comforting, is that in our brains, forgetting is the default setting.
Wait, so like we're just designed to forget?
Yeah, we're designed to forget. So most people...
How's that useful?
Because the brain doesn't want to use up its memory space with information that's not long-term important. And so where we set our keys down is, as far as the brain is concerned, and judgy brain, not long-term important. Okay?
Okay.
And it makes sense to me in the light of think about all the incoming information that we have constantly. When we... You know, especially in the age of the internet and electronics and stuff, we have a lot of stuff coming in that's probably not really relevant to our survival on the planet. But it keeps trying to get our attention. And if the brain held on to everything, it would run out of storage.
So there's a finite capacity to what we can keep in our brains.
Right.
Oh.
And so the brain tends to forget stuff that the brain thinks is unimportant.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And it tunes out what it thinks are mundane things that we do like 1,000 times. That's one of its criteria. So I set my keys down at the door. I set my keys down in my bedroom. I set my keys down on the kitchen counter. I set my, keys, I stuff them in my pocket of my jacket and then hang up my jacket. The brain is like, not too worried about all that because I don't seem like I'm worried about it.
Okay.
Yeah. So if it held on to all of that, it would just not have any space for anything that was more important. So the solution here for keys is to put your keys in one place. And then the brain's going to take note of that. That's the key place that's important. We're going to remember that.
Oh, that's true. Because if I go into my house and when after work and I take off my glasses and take my shoes off, or I take my shoes off and don't put my keys down as I go to walk away, that's the first thing I do is like this, but your keys are still in your pocket or your keys are still in your hand until I set them down.
So your brain's telling you
that's not the norm. You have to put everything there. We
decided this was important. We're going to do it this way, and so do it that way.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. But
that really just boggles my brain to think that's
I know.
I've conditioned it to do that.
Your brain surprised your brain.
It did.
The other cool thing is that there's something they call in science event boundaries. And so our memories are tied to specific places, and this kind of riffs a little bit off the keys. In each location is like a separate scene in a play, okay? Like a separate set in a play, okay? And so what happens when you are physically located in time within that one set is easier to remember, and then you have a reset when you go into, say, a different room. It's a different set. Does that make sense?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. So
that's why when you walk into another room, you forget what you went in there for.
exactly. So your brain leaves...
There's an answer for that.
Your brain leaves memories behind when the scene changes. It's like, okay, we're leaving the kitchen, so, that you left the pot on the stove with boiling water, probably not as important to you. So I think that is...
And that's normal brain things? That's not...
Normal brain stuff.
I don't have to freak out that that's dementia, early onset?
No, but you have to set a timer or something to remind you.
I do set timers to remind me why.
Right. But I think that's actually, that understanding that we have of ourselves is kind of, and that science supports that, is kind of beautiful, actually. So if you want to get around this is the workaround. Try tagging a thought about something you want to remember while you were in the room where the thought originated. Okay.
So you don't leave it behind when you walk out of it.
Yeah. So I'm in the kitchen and I'm thinking, oh, well, there's this matter I have to, email I have to do at work. It's really urgent. It's important. And when I get to work and I'm on my work computer, I should probably remember to send it out. And I'm in the kitchen thinking of that. And then I walk to the living room, poof, it's gone. Because your brain is kind of saying, well, that's a kitchen thing. It doesn't understand the complexities of a work computer, really. So what you do when you are in the kitchen and you think of that, try and make an image in your brain of you sending the email while you're in your office and focus on that a little bit. And that kind of is a nudge to your brain that, okay, this one's going to have... some time value, and you need to remember it.
Will that trigger your brain to remember that when you walk into your office on Monday morning?
Right. So you're signaling to your brain that this is an important little detail to pay attention to.
So when we change scenes and we're in this scene, you need to remember this.
Uh-huh. And then you can up the stakes. You can really nudge your brain that this thought is important by writing it down. So that's why making lists work.
But what about when you forget your list at home?
Well, just the writing it down.
Oh, okay.
Is helpful.
That is true, because I forget my list at home, but I remember what I wrote on it.
Right. And handwriting a list is more important than typing it into your phone.
Okay.
Okay.
So is that like extra wiring for your brain for the memory?
Yeah.
Okay.
It makes the task that you want to remember more emotionally important to the brain.
And so is that what it is? It's the memory of the thing is tied to the emotional importance?
Uh-huh. So your brain gets the idea that, oh, well, this is a little bit different than just tossing your keys on the kitchen counter. Okay, so maybe I should pay a little more attention to that. And you don't really have to go back and consult a list. You're just writing it down. It gives it, I guess, more permanence in your memory. That's kind of cool.
It is.
Yeah. And then, of course, there's supplements and crossword puzzles and all that kind of stuff. There are some supplements that help your memory, and they didn't really talk about it too much in the podcast, and I didn't review it. But turmeric is one of them. But one that works better.
Wait, like
turmeric?
Like turmeric capsules? Cooking with turmeric?
Well, that's an excellent question. It didn't really specify, so you can't really tell whether it's, this form and this many milligrams or anything. Somebody's going to have to kind of do their own research on that one. And don't go to a place that's selling you turmeric. They're not there to give you good information. They're there to sell turmeric. But they also specifically talked about phosphatidylserine having some benefit. Phosphatidylserine.
Okay.
Or it might be titylserine. But anyway.
What is that?
It is actually part of the components that make up the memory or the membranes of neurons. And this might be the way that it helps. And so membranes in cells are one of the things they do is provide kind of ability for things to cross into the cell and out of the cell. And so this might be the door for memories to get inside of the cell.
So is that something our bodies naturally produce, or is that something we buy at the health food store?
Both. But again, they didn't go into detail about whether you buy the capsule or the sprinkles or the, this brand or that brand or this many milligrams.
Wrap it around your Tylenol and take it with your coffee in the morning.
Yeah, that's right. So those are things that they're looking at. As far as other supplements, not much of it is helpful unless you're the person selling them. Okay.
Gotcha. I have never even heard of that second one. I have no idea what it even is.
It's a component of a membrane. What I see in my little brain is that it's like the door.
But how do you put a component of a membrane in a capsule form and take it or sprinkle it?
And know that your stomach isn't going to just digest it into.
Yeah, I get that it's a component of a membrane, but I like, where are they deriving this from?
Probably a lot of dead mice, I think.
Okay, that one can stay at the health food store.
Okay, we'll just,
So it's not vegan friendly. Got it.
So other things like crosswords and puzzles, it's hard to tell whether this is a correlation or a causation, which we just learned about in our last discussion. So maybe people that like to do puzzles and crosswords just like to do them, and coincidentally their memories are better, and that gives them positive feedback for actually doing puzzles successfully. So they don't really know that it's truly helpful, but they do notice that people who do puzzles and crosswords have less memory problems. So they don't know whether it's the act of doing the puzzles or just that these people already come primed to have less memory problems, and that's why they like to do puzzles. They're good at them.
So we hear all the time. I know our brain's not a muscle, but we hear like your brain's a muscle and you have to use it. Like you have to read, you have to have conversations, you have to challenge yourself.
Right.
Is that one of those things that they just make sense, or is there science behind that?
No, I think the science is murky here. So they don't understand whether this is just a correlation or a causation, or I suppose we could even take a step beyond and see if they're components of both.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not mutually exclusive. So stay tuned, but it wouldn't hurt you to do them. There's no downside to doing them.
Yeah, I know. I have a circular puzzle that's black that when I'm really stressed out and overwhelmed, I'll bust it out, put it on the table, and start working on it just so I'm focused on something other than what's stressing me out to relieve anxiety.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that goes to the next one, is that downtime actually helps memory. It's a type of short-term disconnect from all the stuff that's flooding our brain. And
what do you mean by downtime?
It gives your brain something different to do, a different task to do, than to try and analyze all this information that's coming in and decide what's important and where you left your keys.
So going for a walk in the woods, downtime, sitting at the beach, reading a book, taking a nap, anything other?
That's exactly the next list I have.
Oh.
So good sleep.
I forgot what your email said.
Good sleep definitely enhances all types of memory, so long-term and short-term. And so what if you don't sleep very well? How do you fix that? Well, sleep hygiene. We've talked about that before. Sleep hygiene is frustrating to do because it's pretty much you have to put down your electronics and turn off the TV and change the lighting in your room and maybe exercise before bed or take a warm shower or warm milk, or there's a lot of like really conservative things that solve the problem in glacial time, not very quickly. And it's for somebody like me whose biggest comfort in the world is Grey's Anatomy. I just turn Grey's Anatomy on and it puts me to sleep.
So is that it? But if that puts you to sleep, is that the same as warm milk? I mean, because there's no science behind warm milk. So if Grey's Anatomy, it triggers your brain into this is the time to shut off and go to sleep.
I think that, and I also think I find hospital stuff kind of comforting because it's an environment I'm used to and I'm comfortable in.
So would that be good sleep hygiene, or that doesn't count because it's an electronic?
That's terrible sleep hygiene, but it tends to kind of work for me to a certain extent. But I shouldn't do it because it's putting all kinds of different color lights and stuff in, and my little evolutionary reptilian brain is not happy with that. It doesn't want to respond to that. For some reason, I've kind of trained myself. I don't know why. It's not the way the world should be. And if I was truly going to work on sleep hygiene, I would exercise, maybe do some yoga before bed. A warm shower would be important. I would toss my phone away for maybe 2 hours before I actually am ready to go to bed, and have that kind of unplug from technology wind down.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but that's kind of boring,
It is kind of boring.
It's hard for people to do, but it's the way we should get good sleep.
I get it, but as somebody who's had insomnia since I was a little kid, I genuinely, if turning on Grey's Anatomy was going to help me fall asleep, even if I didn't turn it on my TV and just like played it on my phone and covered it up with a pillow so there wasn't changing the light in my room,
Right.
if just hearing it worked the way a sound machine does or anything else to get my brain to shut off, I'd do it.
Yeah, this is just an eccentricity I have. I don't think we can extend it to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of stuff on YouTube and actually different apps where they tell, if you Google bedtime stories for adults, they'll have like a mildly intellectually engaging story that
Yeah, it's on the Calm app. Those work for a while, and then you just
right.
then you start to focus on the dang stories, and then you're awake still.
Well, but the design, the readers got changes in their voice over the time, and then they're designed to have the topic kind of become quieter and slower and more repetitive, and
They do, and they work for about a week or two, and then you have to change the reader because then you get accustomed. For me, anyways, I got accustomed to. I purchased that dang app and did this again. Insomnia.
right.
Yeah.
I used it for a while. As kind of a trial thing, and I liked it, but also they didn't have in my trial thing enough selection. There wasn't enough variety, so
Yeah, you got to buy it.
yeah. But there's a lot of different things, and you may not have to buy some of them.
That's true.
So, and then exercise helps, and I would say
I'll buy the Calm app again before I exercise.
well, exercise, we think of exercise as going to the gym and powerlifting or something, but it could be a walk around the block and look at the moon, It could be something like that. And I think that, but one thing that we learned from COVID and that I've learned from doing these shows is that it kind of boils down to, diet and exercise and disconnect and the value that we have of the redwood forest around us, because the trees, we now know that the trees are giving off chemicals that do beneficial things for us, and it's not as woo-woo as science initially called it.
Yeah.
And that these things can help us in ways that we don't. I mean, it just becomes almost always the foundational answer to every question,
Yeah.
like rules for living right or something.
So follow the example of nature and stick with the rhythm.
Right. So, and we're lucky that we lived here and we have the ability to interact, and like, what do the people in downtown LA do?
Yeah, I have no idea where. I mean, most of Northern California, Southern Oregon, right? We shut down at 10 o'clock. Only the hooligans and I won't use the H word, but you know what I'm referring to there. The other H word are out after 10 p.m. We shut everything down. We call it the Del Norte weekend. It's Sunday and Mondays off.
Right.
Yeah, there's just a different pace in Northern California, Southern Oregon.
Yeah, I would agree. That's one of the reasons I moved up here all those years ago.
Yeah, and I think it's all of the nature that's around us too. I think it does have an effect on us to slow us down.
I think we're inhaling stuff that science is only, and I'm not talking about man-made stuff. I'm talking about stuff that the environment around us secretes that science has only recently kind of recognized. So, yeah.
Yeah, we don't study all of those. I mean, we're beginning to now. I mean, it wasn't even until the late 90s that they realized that there's an entire ecosystem at the top of the redwood trees.
And underneath.
Yeah.
In the root system.
Yeah, and all the mycorrhizal throughout the forest floors.
Even between two species of tree, they're interdependent on each other and supportive of each other.
Yep.
So we have much to learn about the forest around us.
Absolutely.
We don't even begin to know it. So that's the interesting stuff I learned about memory loss, and I encourage people to go to that podcast. It's called Science Versus, and it's hosted by Wendy Zuckerman. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to talk about was I have been on medical disability because of an elective surgery. that I had, and I've been recovering. So I have not been at the acute care clinic or the teen clinic for I guess, most of the summer, probably from about July on. And I'm now recuperated enough so that I can go back. And I found out in coming back that maybe the clinics weren't happening as regularly as I had hoped. And they were.
No, they were not.
Yeah. And I really, really want to put it out there that I'm back and I'm ready to help people, especially on Saturdays with acute care. We usually see, and we've seen up to 40 people in 4 hours, but, that's kind of like in the middle of the flu season. But lately we've been seeing more yesterday we saw 8. And I just know there's more people out there that this clinic could help.
Yeah.
So I want to remind people that it's a thing. And the other thing is that we're definitely there from 10 o'clock. We stop taking patients at about 1:30 and then kind of close the place down by 2. It is not required that you be a patient there in the open door system. So we see a lot of people from Stellant or Del Norte Community Health Center who have a specific problem that needs to, like the kid has strep. And by the way, there's strep going around at the high school right now. So
where is the acute care clinic located?
It is at Del Norte Community Health Center.
So open door on Washington and North Crest.
Uh-huh. And it is possible to show up a little early. Sometimes we do open the doors early if it looks like there's a lot of people that need something. It is not guaranteed that I will maybe make all your medical dreams come true. Like I do send people to the ER, so people go there dodging the ER, and then I'll listen to what they have to say. I'll get their vitals. I'll make a medically appropriate decision, and sometimes people bounce to the ER, but that's not very common. I can do refills if people are like fire refugees. There's a problem with fire right now, and Agnes
Gotcha.
was emergently evacuated.
So if they evacuated down here with families, you can...
Right.
Okay.
But I can't.
That's good to know.
I can't refill your scheduled drugs. Okay. But if you're like, oh my God, I left my blood pressure medicine, on the kitchen counter, and I've had a stroke, and the doc said the one thing is don't stop taking this med, then I can help you get refills if you want to.
Great. Oh, there's just, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but just so people are aware too, if you are ever traveling or you're evacuated from an area and you forget your medication, you can go to any pharmacy, absolutely any pharmacy, and get an emergency supply to cover until you can get back home. So if you're traveling for 2 weeks down in Los Angeles from here and you forgot your insulin, they will give you a 2-week supply of insulin. They'll just front it off of your next one. If you were taking a medication on a regular basis, you can get an emergency supply for evacuation.
You might have to pay for it, though, in that circumstance. Sometimes insurance will.
Sometimes, the majority of the time, especially for evacuations, they give you that supply.
Right.
Because again, they're taking it off of your next prescription.
Right.
So if you got stable insurance and you have it's a medication you've been taking for years, you can go to your pharmacy as well. So.
And the pharmacists a lot of times will, if you have more than just a need for a refill, like you've got a wound or something that needs attention, they know the acute care clinic is open. So the ER and the pharmacists are really good at making sure people know that.
That's good.
Yeah. It would be nice if the hotel, like the front desk people, had some understanding that we were available. I know in the past they've been very helpful, but I think you have to keep reminding them.
Yeah.
So I just want to remind people that we're there and we're willing to help. The other thing is Dr. Turner, of course, continues with his outreach care to the swamp. And people who might be listening to this or who live out there or people who have loved ones out there, he is turning out to be the doctor for them because he's really easy to talk to. He's really interested in making a difference. He is not, he's somebody that will listen to you and will try and find a solution to your problem. He's been really, really helpful for people. So I want to put a plug out there for Mobile Medical, which is part of Open Door, and specifically Dr. Turner and his staff there. They see patients in the Del Norte Community Health Center's parking lot, but they also see people kind of by where the Superette used to be, which is now Mission Possible.
Yeah, it's a Mission Possible outreach post.
Right.
So it's on the corner of Elk Valley and Holland Hill.
And they have a lot of social workers who can be helpful there. And they also have medical stuff. They have a lot of medical supplies that are on hand, so people don't have to come into town to maybe come to the pharmacy. They also do a lot of wound care because it's necessary out there if you need to update your tetanus shot. Stuff like that is super helpful. So shout out to Dr. Turner. He's definitely a cool guy, and his team is there to help you. I think they have food too.
They do. They
And
have
showers, huh?
Yep, they have the showers out there, the mobile showers. That's sponsored by the Senior Center, if I'm not mistaken. The Mission Possible caseworkers are there. So even if you're not a Mission Possible client and you're not onboarded with their case management system, you can still get the services.
Right.
See Dr. Turner. They have... I think there's a mental health outreach sometimes. So the staff from PATH is there.
Right.
There's lots of different services, both on Tuesdays at Washington and Northcrest, and on Thursdays at Holland Hill and Elk Valley Cross at the
And do you know the
intersection.
times? I don't
I believe it's 11 to 2.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. And then, of course, they're seeing people, and things are being recorded in the computers and stuff. And so if somebody transitions from the outreach clinic to the clinic proper, there's continuity of care there. And it's important to know that.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to turn you away for having the wrong insurance.
They don't. And you don't have to have insurance. So if
Right.
you don't have insurance, that's where you go.
Right. They have food and socks there, too, on occasion.
Yep, they do. Especially at the one, there's a big table out front. And then on Thursdays for the one out in the Birch area, close to the swamps, their building is full of clothing and things like that, too. So there's food, there's a place to sit down. I've gone out there. It's pretty communal. It's pretty awesome.
Do you think that people maybe new to the swamps could get stuff like tarps or, sleeping bags or?
Yeah, they do have those handed out sometimes. I know
So you have them?
once a year, if you're a patient at Open Door, you can request a tarp and sleeping bags. Not sleeping bags, tents, that they can give those out. If you end up in the hospital and you're homeless as well, they have a program if you ask the social worker and let them know that you're homeless. But again, once a year, it's documented, so they're going to know if you've gotten it or not.
Right.
But yeah, they have those services.
They have blankets for sure. I've seen blankets.
Yeah. And then like things for the waterproofing and things like that too. So as much as possible, people try to keep those supplies on hands for people.
Right.
I was out there last Saturday interviewing people out in the swamps, and there was a former nurse out there who was saying that what they need is like iodine, gauze, and then gauze wraps.
So like first aid stuff.
First aid. Yeah, so they get the bandages, like little Band-Aids. I know that's a brand, but they get the
Right.
little strip Band-Aids, but what they need is for bigger wounds, deeper wounds, puncture wounds, and to keep things from getting infected with iodine or betadine.
Like betadine or HIPAA.
Yeah, something to keep
Right.
it clean on a regular basis, larger gauze pads, and then the gauze wraps so that they can keep it
Right.
clean and dry.
So anybody out there that wants to be a good human being could also donate to them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a resource we should remember is there because those people out there are human beings.
Absolutely. And they're our neighbors. So,
Yeah.
gotta love
They're
our
us.
neighbors.
They're us.
They are
They're
us.
but the grace of God.
Right? We're
So-
all a lot closer to being and living in the swamps than we are to be living on a yacht with
Totally.
Elon Musk. All right. So thank you so very much, Lynn, for being here. And for what was it we were talking about earlier?
Huh?
Thanks for explaining.
Memory.
Thanks for explaining how memories work. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Thanks. I'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.